Hello Tesbians, welcome to another episode of Legacy, my YouTube interview series. This is episode 3. If you've not seen the previous episodes, feel free to catch up. Episode 1 was with the fabulous Adam Rowe and episode 2 with the fantastic Nabil Abdul Rashid. This week I've got the amazing Sindhu Vee. You'll have seen in so many things. She was in my show, the Tez O'Clock Show. She's smashed live at the Apollo, that's on 50 million views on Facebook or something crazy like that. It's gone super viral. She was in Sex Education. She was in Mae Martin's sitcom. She's been all over the place over the last couple of years. She's fantastic. She's got such a unique perspective and such a unique, charming performance that only she could do. So without further ado, here's Sindhu Vee. Sindhu, how are you? Sat Sri Akal. How's it going?
Sri Akal, okay, I've got the audio recording going. Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yes. Have you started recording? That's what I forgot to do it. I just double checked then. Hence I went, because my laptop is down here, I had to go between my pants to check. It's now recording. Are you recording?
I'm recording. I'm full of recording.
Amazing. Sindhu, welcome to episode 3 of Legacy.
Thank you for having me. Oh my God, how exciting. I'm just excited to see you as well.
I'm excited to see you as well. Can you just do me a favor? Can you tilt your phone slightly towards you a little bit? Yes, that's it. Bus.
Yeah, but I can't. You have no idea how precariously I've kept this shit together here.
Okay.
I could just hold.
It's fine. No, because I want you to be expressive and stuff and just you know.
Fuck. Okay, I'm gonna be there you go. I'll be expressive.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you are. Sindhu, how are you?
So expressive.
So you're live in your house?
I mean, where else am I gonna go?
I was double checking, like the police, just double checking on you then.
Yeah.
Is she at home? Where is she?
I am literally at home. In fact, it's like everyone is going to sleep and I'm like, I gotta go to my gig. They're like, please. I'm like, seriously, I'm going to my gig.
Yeah, because usually that means leaving the house and leaving your kids and your husband. But this time you just go to a different room.
Yeah, you have no idea. I'm in a nice shirt and that's it.
Wow. Do you like my jumper?
I do. It is very nice.
Thank you very much. Sindhu, how have you been? Because people might not know, but you got it. You were one of the people with you got the coronavirus. You are a card-carrying, plasma-donating corona carrier.
Yeah. And I mean, I got it before lockdown. So by the time lockdown happened and I was because it lasted a long time. It's got a long tail, this thing. So when I came out of it, I was like, hey, everybody. They're like, we've been in lockdown for 3 weeks. Shut the fuck up. I was like, oh, I was so excited.
Because you were in super quarantine bunker. Don't talk to me. Don't let me see anything lockdown, right? While you had it.
No, I mean, I was so sick, Tez. Like, I mean, I had, it's not so much that there was lockdown. My system was in shutdown. It was it was like the flu. My body was hurting. I had a fever every single day. It's very draining. I mean, I don't have any underlying issues. So for me, it was just being very, very sick. Except for there was 3 days in the middle where the breathing was an issue. And then I got very scared. Who am I kidding? I got really scared.
Yeah, it sounded. Listen, they're telling me that they're telling me that my sound isn't.
Yeah, your sound is a little away. You sound like you've fallen inside a kuan. Well.
Okay, hang on. Let me see. Is that better?
Oh, much better.
Oh, cool. Okay, we fixed it. I just had to press a button on my Princess Leia haircut. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, you can hear me now. Excellent. Okay, sorry, you were saying, Sindhu.
No, so I was saying that for me, it was not so much that I was in lockdown, but I was just so sick. So I mean, we could have been in lockdown. We could have been on the moon, but I mean, it was a different. I haven't been that kind of sick, so it was very novel. And you have headaches and your whole body. It's just a very rough thing, and then you come out at the other end.
Right, but I'm for one happy that you came out of it well, alive, and seemingly in quite a good place.
I think so. I mean, I think. I think so. I think, first of all, I'm just a lot more grateful because I got it early on, and as it's all developed, I've understood that it could have been much worse, that, my kids could have got it. They're quite asymptomatic. My husband had it, but only for 5 days. He had the mild one, which is sore throat. I don't feel good. And then, because we all had the antibody test, and I have antibodies and he has antibodies. So that's good.
So you are the family that can just go out and do whatever you want, right? I
mean, if we weren't in lockdown, we probably would. Although I do think that there's a feeling in my, for me and all of us, that it's a time to just, you know, it's a time to sort of hold back because
Okay.
there are other people that are not well. And I mean, what the hell am I going to go out and do? Everything's closed.
This is true. This is true.
But
They're still telling me that my mic has got issues. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine now. Before it was a little bit off, but I hear you fine.
Okay, screw these guys because I'm recording this separately anyway.
Oh,
No, stay on the live, guys.
Yeah, don't go away. Don't even listen to him.
Yeah, this is about Sindhu anyway. Listen, Sindhu, let's get into it. You're one of my best friends on the circuit. I love you. You're hilarious. You're genuinely one of the funniest people I've met in life, let alone in this industry. So tell me, Sindhu, let's get straight into it. When you are, Allah na kare, you live a long life, but Allah kare that you live a long life, Allah na kare that you leave us anytime soon, but one day you will no longer be with us. And what would you like your legacy to be when you are no longer here?
Oh man, when you asked me for this, since then I've been thinking, and sometimes I think very serious things, and sometimes I think very unserious things. But let me be serious,
Okay.
because I don't think you're doing this for no reason, and I think that there's a reason that you're doing it, and I think it's important. I'm so many things to so many people, so it's difficult that I'll be remembered for one thing. But if I'm just talking about you and me, and like in our world, what I would want to be remembered for is just straight up funny. Just straight up funny, like
Bari mazaki hai.
no, I mean, like ये तो इतनी funny है, इतनी funny, but like just funny. Like you could be from anywhere, you could be any gender, you could be any religion, you could be, and I would have said something and you'd be like, man, she was funny. And I think sometimes when I get on stage, people expect the funny to come with an angle because of my gender and because of my ethnicity and because I'm married to someone who's not. I have no desire to be remembered for any messages along those lines. If they come up, great. I just want to be remembered for being funny.
That's so
Straight up.
that's so interesting. All right, let's get into that a little bit, because with me, like me, we've got slightly different styles in that I
course.
feel like I'm representing something because of the current climate that my people find themselves in this country. So when I step on stage, that's the things that I try and find funny. But you're right, with you, your comedy is very universal. You're talking about having kids, you're talking about problems, or you manifest problems with your husband, whether they're real or not, we don't know.
They are very real. They're very real.
I know, but I don't know how true you want it to be to these people.
No, man, they're real. I mean, I'm still with him. I love him dearly, but God, sometimes I think, why did I pick him? Why? I should have maybe picked one of the guys my mother was lining up.
No, because at least there's a full foot difference between them. Her husband is so tall. I was like, is Lana, these, like, so she's married to a Danish guy, Scandinavian guy, and he's massive. He's like 6'4", 5".
No, okay, but here's a funny thing. So he's about 6'3", but like every Desi mom, now that my son is almost 6'6", I think my son is so tall. I always say to my husband, my son is so tall, as if he's got the genes from my family, which he doesn't. They're Danish genes, but he's mera puttar. My son is. And my son is taller than you. I look at my husband, I say, my son is taller than you, as if like it's some kind of achievement of mine. But I'm a Desi mom. All the good things my kids do are from my side. All the terrible things are from the Danish side.
But you're not short for a Desi lady.
No,
like most Desi ladies
I'm outrageously
are
tall.
4 foot -7. But you are like 5'7".
5'10".
5'10". You're taller than me.
I am.
Do you? Because I've never noticed. Do you hunch over when you talk to me? Like, as in, just to be nice, to me. You're like, hey, little Tezzy. Hey there.
No, I don't. I think we're almost the same height.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah,
yeah. Let's say that. We are
almost,
with
the
same height, guys.
And chilling. We're not standing there and talking to each other. We're sitting and chilling.
That's true.
So yes, so we were talking about the thing about about you were saying about how you have other things that you want to bring, and I don't want. Like you said, that's not my legacy. I'm not saying it doesn't come up. Like, we were talking about the things I talk about, my marriage and so
Yeah.
I think that they're so deeply embedded in the fabric of what I'm saying, because I am all those things. So they will show if they have to. And there are times when some things happen and I don't, and I feel like I have a strong message, and I might tweet. I'll say something. I definitely teach my kids a lot more at home than I would ever talk about on stage.
Because this is interesting, because we know each other, we're friends, and and I know you call me when there are issues you want to talk through, and vice versa. So you are very, very smart. You know a lot about the world, and you care about it, and you have opinions about it. And I've seen one or two of those things creep up into your material, but mainly your material is about yourself and your family, and both in India and here in the UK, and around. So why have you made that distinction to know? I guess is it because you've taken up comedy at the time in your life that you did? So if you took up comedy when you were 22, 23, would it have been, do you think it would have been do you think you on stage would have been different? Or would you still have been talking about what you knew about family then?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, can we just establish I'm incredibly vain and shallow. You see, this is something that people don't appreciate because they think, oh,
Cindy, you were a supermodel. We know this.
no, but I'm so vain and shallow that I'm thinking of my 22-year-old self, and I'm thinking, no, I'd probably talk about my relationships even then. I mean, because I guess for me, the things that I talk about myself, I'm very clear on who I am identity wise, the bigger identity. I'm from India. I was raised very clearly as an Indian girl. I almost had an arranged marriage. There's a show called Unorthodox on Netflix at the moment.
Yes, I've seen it.
And in that, there's a scene where she's sitting in the dining room with the boy that they picked. And I remember being in those situations, and the family was in the other room, and I was sitting there, and there was a boy my parents really would have liked, and I was looking on the floor, and he was asking me, what's your name? I mean, he didn't know my name when he came to see me. Do you know what I mean? So
Wow.
I remember that. And
I assume you didn't say to him, I'm Sindhu the Hindu. Because
no, because he was also Hindu.
because that would be
He's also
implied.
Hindu.
Yeah, they'd be
No.
like...
No, what I actually said to him was, my name is Sindhu, and he said, it's a very beautiful name.
Aww.
And I was like, ugh. Because I was like, what is that to say? But also, I mean, in those
Poor guy.
situations, no, poor guy. But he was like 5 years older than me, and he was already working, and I was 18.
I remember that life when young women in our communities got married 17, 18, 19. I remember those days.
And I mean, it's not something that I have. I mean, I think because I never said, oh no, I don't want it. My parents still did it. They were like, my mother was like, we have to start looking for a boy for you early because what are you gonna do? Like you're not that, like, you're okay at school, but look at you, like you don't have any ambition, which I really didn't have much ambition. My ambition was to get away.
That's so crazy for me to hear that, knowing who you are. That's mad that there was a time in Sindhu's life where she didn't have ambition. That is crazy to me.
I had none. The thing is, and I say this, and I want to say this to other Desi girls, to other South Asian girls who might be watching this. It is difficult in our families, not all our families, but many of our families, no matter how much our parents love us or whatever, for women from the South Asian community to have the confidence to believe that they have ambition. You see, to know I have ambition takes an underlying confidence. And that confidence sometimes can be absent because you're so busy making sure you're a good girl. So I clearly was very ambitious because I did fine. But at the time, I didn't even have the confidence of like things I could do. Not because, and my parents were quite liberal in the sense I went to school and it was co-ed school and I had lots of friends who were guys and they were over. But it was more, I was lazy. I just got good grades so my mother would stay off my back. But like I didn't really have a plan.
So were you like, as in you felt limited by the expectations that society placed on you?
My parents, I knew that I had to do the things. I knew that they had good ideas for me and they would sort of guide me. Okay, now do this, now do this. My father always said you should write the IAS, which is the Indian Administrative Service, because you're good in liberal arts. I was like, okay. Why would my parents pick something bad for me? I'd never had a boyfriend when I left India. I'd never had a kissa with any boy. But I had lots of friends who were guys. It was just, and this is, I think, part of why I carry my identity very lightly. I was raised in a very cohesive, coherent environment. I wasn't different than most people. I was very tall, which was like crazy tall, but that was the only difference, I grew up with people who were like me. But of course, that's different when you grew up like you, because you're a minority here. And I appreciate now that I'm a minority, but I was already fully formed.
Yeah,
So
I guess.
my sense of myself was very clear. I knew what I do and I don't do. And I knew who the other was. And I was very proudly Indian. There was no conflict, you see, growing up. There could have been other conflicts, for sure. I could have been far more rebellious. But even to leave my family, the way I did it was I got a scholarship to Oxford.
That's mad,
And my parents were like, okay, that's a very decent way that you can go abroad. You know what I mean?
Could you imagine if your parents had said, "Nay, Betty, nay, you cannot go to Oxford."
Almost, because one of the boys I'd seen my parents really liked, and his mother said, because then I would have had a long engagement because he was in America and I'd be in England and I'd got the scholarship, and his mother called and said, nothing doing. My son needs a wife now. And my father was like, well, he's a very good boy, and so it was kind of up in the air. And I remember listening to this conversation of my parents and thinking, oh, I really want to go, but I guess if this is the better thing.
Wow.
But it was my mother who stepped in then, and she got very upset. She said to my father, and I'll say this in Hindi and then I can translate later. She said to my father, जो औरत आज मेरी लड़की की ड्रीम्स कुचल रही है, शादी के बाद तो चटनी बना देगी उसकी. Any woman who steps on my daughter's dreams today after marriage will make her into a chutney, which was true.
Yeah.
So my mom was like, nothing doing. My mom was like, you go to Oxford, you come back in 2 years and we'll get you married.
Wow.
That didn't work out.
That didn't work out. But you went to Oxford though. Like, I don't know a single person, I don't know a single brown person from Blackburn who did their undergrad at Oxford or Cambridge.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me, but I can't think of... I know someone who did a postgrad there, my friend's sister, but I can't think of anyone who did an undergrad there.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
I mean, that's because we're all dumb, but still.
No, but I think like on the outside, the last layer you see is that we're all brown, but all the layers behind are different. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me to have even been in a mindset where that was something I would do. Well, every year from Delhi University, between 9 and 10 kids from all over India got these scholarships, and you had a way to apply. I was in a world where that was not a possibility. It was a likelihood.
Right.
So...
I mean, my school had a GCSE pass rate of 35%.
You see what I mean? So, I mean, I'm not surprised you don't know anyone who went to that place. But I don't think... It's so funny because I think I don't for a moment... One of the reasons it's hard for me to get on stage and say anything about the things that happened for me is because I recognize that when I get on stage here, people think, oh, we kind of know her backstory, but they don't, because my backstory is from India, where I had a lot more opportunities than a lot of people who look like me had here. Even in terms of the mindset of their parents and in terms of the educational facilities that were available. Do you know what I mean? I didn't go to a super fancy school in Delhi, but it's a different set of ingredients. You can make chocolate cake with in a lot of different ways, but at the end they all look like chocolate cake. But what went inside, it's very different.
Dropping that knowledge in there.
Yeah, because I cook every day now. So metaphors are in food.
I've been seeing your Instagram. If you're not following Sindhu, which I'm sure a lot of you are, but those of you who are not, do follow her. She is just cooking up a storm in her house right now. Like, I feel like lockdown has been very good for you.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I think someone has just put, you Indians killed us Bengalis.
Oh, ignore these people. Just the fuck on. Ignore them.
Right.
I'm not reading the comments. They're full of Bevakoof people.
It's so funny. I'm sorry, okay, for anyone that Indians killed. That's so crazy to me.
Thanks for the information. Sindhu, who did you kill?
I don't. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. My mother's family, they were all cops. I mean, I know they did some bad things, but I don't think it was to Bengalis. I think it was to people in their own village. I don't think it was any Bengalis. But I think this lockdown has been very good for me because, I needed to hibernate. I was on tour last year. I had a big year for many different reasons. And I needed to.
In the summer, you were on the Tez O'Clock show. That was big.
That was huge. No, I'd never been on it. Yeah, it was so great. We glammed up that stage. We lit it right up.
We lit it up. It was like, because it was crazy. Because I feel like neither of us knew what we were doing. Like, not probably, like we'd never been in that.
You knew a little bit more.
But I would never been in the position where I was fronting something like that.
Yeah.
And people had come in and my name's in the title of the show. I'm coming in going, come and listen to me.
It was amazing. And I had a real sense of, I was very protective about that show in the sense that I could see that it was a first for you. I think you did very well. I think it suits your style. And by the grace of God, something will flower from that. But I was very protective about it because I knew that even though you knew a lot more than me, it was a first time for you. Mm-hmm. And, we had some fun.
I'm just going to take this person out of the group. Hide live video from him. Okay, he's gone now. The fog, yeah.
Oh.
So you had
the person who can't.
The same person. So you had a big year last year.
Big year, and I needed to hibernate after that year.
Yeah.
For many reasons, and I'm not saying that I'm glad there's Corona, but if something is happening, what can you do? Then and I, as you know, I'm a person of great faith. So for me, it was like, well, the only thing I can do, especially when I was sick, the only thing I can do is turn inside.
Which was so interesting to me because, people who know your background know you're Hindu, but you grew up in quite a pluralistic society, and the part of India you're from is, it's not Gujarat. You're from UP. You're in Uttar Pradesh, where from this is you telling me, it was a lot more communal, a lot more pluralistic. People got on a lot better than in other parts of India, and you use Arabic phrases with me all the time, which makes me feel so nice. And you asked my mum to pray for you when you were ill. I remember this, and she did.
Yes, I think I grew up in Lucknow, which is a heavily Muslim city, but we didn't have Muslim. It just wasn't a thing. Look, India has changed a lot since I was a young girl, and India has moved away from. Indian politics has moved away from a pluralistic, centrist. Stance, and it's had all kinds of. I don't want to make this whole thing very political because if you think that person was a lunatic, wait till the Indians get onto this. But I don't think it's been good. I think that I think it's made Indian society divided along lines of Hindu Muslim in particular, and that's tragic for me because I grew up in a very Muslim city, and I spoke Urdu outside the house and then Hindi in school. And if you used an Urdu word in the Hindi class, you got into trouble because it was a Hindi class, not an Urdu class. But everyone spoke Urdu all the time. And I think it's very sad because I know that now, just so you know, when I go back to India now after quarantine, I want to go to Ajmer Sharif, to the Dargah, which is where I went when I was 15 from school, because it's very meaningful to me to go to the Dargah. My mother is from Ajmer. So, those things. And I think that's also why I stay quiet more, because some of it is just, I feel very sad. And I don't know that I know the words in which to always talk about that on stage, or that I have anything valuable to say. But it's a real change. And but I'm a person of great faith. So for me, the going inward was a huge part of A, being very sick, B, feeling like I needed to hibernate after last year, and C, the world sort of shutting down, and when the world is not available to you, when the outside world is not available to you, then you should go inside and roam. That's what a wise person once said.
And what have you found on your gap year?
Yeah,
your internal gap year. Who are you? Ab kaun hai?
I found that I love comedy. I'm never going to stop. I really,
Well,
honestly,
comedies loves you.
I love comedy. I love comedy. I don't care how I'm going to express it, but it's going to keep coming. Whether it's, I don't even know. I don't even know, but I'm not, that I love comedy. I discovered that I married the right guy. Phew. Yeah, phew.
That's a relief after 20 years.
22. I said to him about 2 months ago, I said, Acha, why I didn't give you, I didn't have talaq, And he was like, what? I said, oh, I'm so happy I didn't divorce you. He said, thank you. I'm also happy. Half the time he just doesn't take me that seriously.
Oh, man.
I learned that. And what else did I learn? I learned that some people who have been your friends for a long time, you need to just edit them. It's enough.
Yes, thank you.
I
Yes.
Some of them, let's be honest, you've just been managing. They're so substandard. It's like, how have I managed with you?
If it was a relationship, you'd have broke it off a long time ago.
Oh, relationship? But forget. Yes, my God. I mean, if you were my sibling, I wouldn't be talking to you. But I'm still talking to you because my friend. Forget it. So I had to edit, and that's been something.
They should be friends with benefits, but actually just friends. I mean, you're long, but not benefits, just
Not those
benefits.
benefits.
Not
Yeah.
those benefits, just benefits. And once you're no longer in those mutual benefits, you're like, okay, we're done now.
Yeah, and also, there's some people that you're like, are you still crying about this guy that dumped you 20 years ago? Yaar, grow up. Hey, Bhagwan. And so that's been something that is that I think I might have become a little meaner in that way.
Okay. Well, I'm still here, so that bodes well.
Yeah. No, but listen, I just think that, this has been a time for us to. Ek to I'll tell you something. My mother used to always say, Allah Miyan ki marzi ke bina to beta patta tak nahi hilta.
That's true.
Without the will of God, even a leaf doesn't move. And it took hope. Like this, the world stopped. Like this. And I was like, oh my God. Like this, the world stopped. And it made me really think. I thought, what am I really here for? Of course it's my children and my spouse and, my father is in India and all that stuff. But what am I really here for? I mean, these people can all manage. What am I really here for?
What will be your legacy?
It is that I am here to make people laugh. Honestly, I'm not even joking. I am here so that when I pass through your company, you'll have laughed. And that in that moment, you will have forgotten any and everything else.
Well, let me say the tens and tens, hundreds of times that we've hung out with each other, I have never left that conversation or that experience thinking I've wasted my time, or
well, that's good to know.
I wish I was somewhere else, or I wish that had gone quicker, because you have a charisma and a vibe that you command the. I don't want to say stage, but the room, the space. You command
Basically,
the space.
when I talk, you listen, but that's very specific to you.
Basically. And that's not the case with everyone. Like, when Ishan talks, I'm like, when can I extract myself?
Oh, don't say that. Yeah, Ishan, leave him alone. Why are you always after Ishan's life?
It's mutual.
No,
but there are.
Ishan.
But you're talking about it before. There are friends where you're like, why am I? Please, can we get to the end of this exchange as quickly as possible?
By the way, for the record, I love when Ishan talks to me, and I'm very fond of him.
Cool, good. 1 out of 2. That's 50%. That's good.
No, I understand that. I think also the thing is that this business of. See, I'm not like a heavy person. Like, I don't want to be a heavy person. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm here to make you laugh and now that's my purpose. No, I honestly think, that just in the most casual way, I want to be someone that you spent time with me, especially if I'm on stage and you bought tickets and you've spent that time invested in me, that I want to make you leave that place and it have been. And you laughed, because I think that in laughter, there is a momentary amnesia about what isn't working, or even what is working. You're not concerned. You're in this completely sort of neutral, suspended place where you laugh. And that's why we can laugh at jokes about things that are very terrible outside of the joke. You know, we can laugh about difficult things. We can, because that's why you and I did those sketches and they were so funny, even though there were some parts of those that were not funny. And I think that's it. And I'm very committed to that. And what that means is, if I am committed to making people laugh, it means that I have to be ready to stand up for the things that comes with. Someday I'm going to say something on stage and someone will say that's inappropriate.
Cancel her. इसको cancel कर दो.
Cancel karo. And I'll say, I'm a brown woman, sala cancel karke to dikhao.
Yeah. इधर आओ. इधर आके cancel.
Come and cancel me. Dekha tumhara kya hota hai. Anyway, no, that's not what I would say. No, but exactly all those things, you know. And I don't think I was ready for that previous to lockdown. I think in lockdown I've thought about it and thought, if the time comes and I think, no, this is funny and people are laughing, and if I have to stand up for it, I will.
That's really is really important, because people will come for comedians, and
of course,
and some of them we want them to come for because they add no value to the circuit, but others we want to keep the good ones.
What
I'm a little troublemaker.
You're such a badmash, you know. I mean, I don't even know. I'm just like, I don't want to get into it.
No. You were in your head going. In your head, you were like, I have 20 names I could give you right now.
No. In my head, I was like, brrr. But you know, anyway. But no, I think people do come for comics because if you're going to be a good stand-up, you have to say something that's funny. But often that funny is backed up by something that's very true. And people don't want to, you know, sometimes people don't want anyone to say anything.
This is true. Like a lot of the things that I say, there's so much subtext in it.
Yes.
But if to explain all the subtext ruins the joke. So you laugh at the joke at face value, then I'm like, okay, if you took the stuff behind it as well, amazing. If you just laughed at the surface joke, that's also okay. But then there's some people that, you know, there's trigger words. Sometimes you'll say a thing and they hear the word and they miss the rest of the sentence, therefore not getting the joke. And you have those moments in comedy. So we all have them. Maybe have gigs where we say a thing because we're going to say a funny thing, but they just hear the one word, like it might be whatever it might be, and they're like, oh, you said that word, I'm not going to listen, and they're a bit drunk, and they're like, oh, boo, why did you say that? And you're like, shut up.
Yeah, and then also you think, well, there's someone, and then I always say, you know, well, at least you know who you're not going to watch again. Me. Aage badho. You know, there are, how many people are there in the world? 6 billion. Most of them are in India, but yes,
7 billion in India, and then 1 billion outside India.
Right. Okay. There's a lot of people. We are here to stay, to tell our jokes. Do niklenge, char aayenge.
This is such a good life lesson. It's the same on social media as well. If there's something you don't like, just go, scroll, whatever. It's like Tinder, just scroll left. There's no need to leave a comment. There's no need to do a thumbs down. Rende. Bye rende.
Leave it.
We don't need your opinion. That's it.
Yeah,
There are so many things I come across that are not, I'm not even going to say they're shit. They're just not for me. They're not for me. It's not made for me. It doesn't appeal to me. I ignore it.
I just keep on walking, man.
Keep on walking. Listen.
Keep on walking.
You are a brown woman who came to comedy by a very not the traditional route.
By the way, this is water. I'm not drinking alcohol.
You didn't you didn't do right hand.
I drank with my left hand. If my mother was here, she'd slap me upside the head.
You didn't do drama. You didn't try to do acting, and then thought, okay, this is not working. I'll do comedy. You know, you went in your mid-20s as most comedians start. I remember the first gig that we met. Yeah, what was it? 2014, 2013, something like this.
2013, 14, I guess it would have been. That was, you know, and I hadn't even done 30 gigs at that point. I'd done like very few gigs.
Yeah, and it was in November, and I know it was in November because I had my mooch for November.
Yeah.
I had this ridiculous mooch.
No, you had no daddy. You had a mooch till here. It was
ridiculous
there was a chair.
3D.
It was your face, and then this
3D
mooch chair. It was like this. It was like this.
You got under it for shade at one point. I remember. Blocked the sun out, and so I remember seeing you at this gig, and I was hosting this gig. It was like Angel Comedy Club in London, and there are a lot of like people over the age of a certain age who join comedy, and they are very rarely, and you know what I'm talking about, very rarely good. a lot of it is, okay, you needed to get out of the house, you needed a hobby, you found this, or this is a substitute for therapy. And I remember when and I confess this to you now because you're one of my best friends.
So fun.
I remember when I saw you and I was like,
check out this fucking auntie coming to tell jokes.
बाजी जी कौन है? बाजी तुम्हारे बच्चे हैं कार यहाँ तो सा क्या कर दिया पे थे थोड़े lost हो you? Like, are you a bit lost, sister? What's you got kids at home? Yeah, what's going on here?
That is so
आपके मियाँ कहाँ हैं?
I know.
I know this is the patriarchal sexist bullshit. And so I was like, what is she? In my head, I was like, please don't be, please be 3 out of 10.
Please.
You know, don't be the 1 out of, because if you're shit, they're gonna look at me like, why did you bring your mum to the gig?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I was like, please.
Why did you bring your massively tall mom in those tight jeans and boots with no headscarf to this gig? That's what they would say, right?
So I'm watching it. So we got on well. I remember we had a really nice fun chat back. So I was like, oh, she's
and
charming.
I thought you were
she's
so
nice.
good. I was like, oh my God, look at, I was so nervous. At that time, I used to stand in Angel on the side, like shaking like a leaf. I used to be so nervous. And you were all like, hey, hi, I know you. And hey, what are you? Ha ha. Am I right? I was like, oh God, look at this guy. I just couldn't understand how like you were so confident.
Well, yeah, I've been doing it for a little bit then, but then I brought you on stage and I was like, okay, here she comes, and then you were so good. Even then, what you like your 10th gig or whatever it might have been, you were so good, and I remember being so impressed. And I remember when you left, I was like, and I rarely say this, even when I've enjoyed performances, that I want to see more. Like the way you did your mum, the stories that you told, I was just like.
And
yes.
bear in mind, it was 5 minutes.
Yes, it was 5 minutes. And I was just like, yes, because like you said, a lot of us, British Browns, we come with a certain baggage when we get on stage. And there's a certain thing that we want to say and represent. And quite often, especially early on, that's what we end up doing. Ramesh being an exception maybe. But most of us, that's what we end up doing. And then you were there not talking about, in your Indian accent, not referencing that. We know you're from India, so why do we need to mention it? And then just talking about your mom and your family and stuff. And I remember being so impressed, thinking, yeah, she's going to be a contender. She's going to go somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, well, I think, thank you, first of all. I think it's so funny because we have so many ideas about, I'd never thought about being brown until I got into comedy.
Well, when you were in India, you had, that's your country, so that's
I was Indian.
You're the same as everyone else.
But then when you went to university, the universities I went to were so international that no one ever, you just didn't have that. Like I had some friends who were from India, I had some friends from Bangladesh, I had some friends from Croatia. It just didn't come up. Because you tend to move with other international students.
Right.
Because the English students, and I knew a bunch of them as well, they already have roots. So, like in the term holidays, and, in between term, all the English kids either had the money to stay in college or they went home. Now, we had scholarships, so we had very, very limited money. And so what you did is all the international students got together, and one time I remember we rented a car and I said, I'll drive because I have an international license. It was completely illegal from India. Hello. And we drove and we were going to Lake District, and I didn't know, I knew how to drive, but I'd never been on a highway and stuff. So my car ended up in Scotland.
Mashallah.
And I was like, and I'd never read a map in my life. No one half my car didn't speak English properly. I mean, it was insane. So everyone was from somewhere else. And if there was any othering, it was like, oh, there's all of us and then there's plain English people. Like we didn't, but I never felt like I was different that way. And then from there, I went to, again, I went to university in America. And I had very close friends from India who had stayed in
Harvard?
No, I went to University of Chicago. First I went to McGill, then I went to University of Chicago.
Oh yeah, hence your Red Bulls, Chicago
Bulls. I was there in the
Scottie
90s.
Scottie Pippen and all that.
Scottie Pippen. Oh.
This woman loves Scottie Pippen more than I love Bilal Rice.
Oh my God, much more. Bilal Rice का तो कोई contender ही नहीं है.
Oi.
Do you wear a shirt of pilau rice? I wear his jersey in the house. My kids are like, take it off. It's embarrassing.
Depends how hungry I am.
Depends how hungry you are. So then when I was in banking,
Yes. So Sindhu was a banker.
I was in investment banking. It came up because there were a lot more English people who hadn't been exposed that much to foreigners, really, because it was a very English bank, and most of them had grown up in like they had met other people, but they hadn't worked. We were 14 hours like in the same 12 hours, 14 in the like sitting like a battery of hens, and Fridays used to be casual Friday. So on casual Friday, I used to wear. Sometimes I wore salwar kameez. I had a shawl, and I wore my jutis, and I came to work, and there was a little bit of like, "What are you wearing?" And I was like, "What are you wearing?" Like, what's the question? Like, I had so much latent. I really had. I don't know how to say this without sounding terrible, but I think I really looked at people who asked questions like that. Like I thought they were very ignorant.
So did you get out of where are you from? Where are you from?
No, they used to say to me, "Where are you from?" I'd say India, because I thought I would leave. I didn't think I would get married and live here.
And I guess that's also true. You are from India. I guess that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I was like, I'm from India.
Whereas from me, I'd be like Blackburn, and they're like, "Where are you from?"
From, exactly. And no one ever asked. And we should talk about my kids, because I think my kids get that more than I ever got it.
Tell your kids, I've got a new strategy, and you might want to pass it on to your kids. So when someone says, "Where are you from?" and they're like, "Oh, I'm from London," and they're like, where are you from?" The second time someone asks, first time London, they ask again, just tell them, "Oh, sorry, I'm a Paki," and then just see what happens.
Oh.
just full straight. "Oh, I'm a Paki," and then.
But I think my kids would die before. For them, that's like the N word.
Just see what happens.
Never say
just see what happens.
Yeah, maybe I could tell them to get in touch with you, and you could talk them through that.
Yeah, I'm happy.
I don't want to be the one who walks around the house. I don't want to be the mother who teaches my kids to walk around saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a,"
Well, when they watch this back, tell them. Your kids do it.
Yeah. So anyway, I think then I was a little bit like, people would then say to me, "Why are you?" I tell you something. Once when my son was very young, I went to pick him up at school, and I was wearing salwar kameez, which I used to wear in the summers because it's salwar kameez. I mean, it's so easy. And I went to pick him up at school twice. And the third time he said to me, "Mom, when you come to pick me up, can you not wear that?"
Oh, shit.
And he was very young. And I said to him, "Beta, why?" And he said, "Well, it's just, I don't know why." He said, "I don't know why." And I said, "Do you want me to look like the other mothers?" And he said, I guess. And I said, "Well, I'll come tomorrow in a bikini." White women wear a lot of bikinis. He was like, "Oh." And then,
even I don't want to see. Even I'm like, I don't want to see my big sister. Ugh.
Exactly. But I said to him, "See, beta, the thing is, you have to understand, I'm an Indian. And this is what I wear. And if you ever start worrying about these outside things, you're never, ever going to be happy. So you're just going to have to kind of give it up." And he was like, "Okay." He was very young. He was like 7.
Where were you when we were growing up in the 90s?
I don't.
Sindhu Vee.
I mean, I think also you have to remember that it's easier for me, and also, can I say one thing? I also have married someone who's not Indian, so that brings a lot of that takes away a lot of issues. You know what I mean? Like
Explain.
Well, I think there's so many ways of raising the children or being that might have seemed to me like I wouldn't have known I wouldn't have gotten into them myself, but they normalize life in the West. But he just brings that. And because I love him, and because we were married, and because if there's anything my mother taught me, it was shadi karna aasan hai, nibhana mushkil. Getting married is easy, staying married is hard.
Yeah, it's the getting married is easy. The happily ever after is the hard part.
And so that's why you have to adjust, you have to compromise, And so there were so many ways of being, like that I think I learned from being in this marriage, which I found acceptable. There's nothing that I've ever done that I didn't find acceptable. A few things maybe, but that's got to do with my sass, and I'm not going to talk about it on Insta Live. Anyways, but every mother-in-law. But
Okay, so answer me this. What is the legacy you would like your kids to remember you by? Hopefully they'll be adults. Maybe they'll have kids of their own, and you'll be, I was going to say little, big grandma. What is it that you would want them to remember you as, or the legacy that you leave behind for them, your line, your khandan?
I guess I'd want the kids to always remember that I thought they could do whatever they put their mind to, provided they were willing to do the hard work. Nothing could stop them. Nothing. If they did the work, I always believed that they could do whatever they put their mind to, because I do believe that. I believe it for myself, I believe it for you. But the hard work is the tricky bit, So I think I'd like them to remember me for that. I'd like them to remember me. I think the legacy I will leave with them is that I did all the things I'm doing all the things I want to. Like I put my mind to comedy and it's going well. And prior to that, I was at home taking care of them. I'm in a cross-cultural marriage. I can understand Danish. I can speak a little bit. I've really tried to be, like you live your life so fully that there's nothing left. You're right up against the edge. And they know that's how I've lived. And they know that it's been on the back of hard work and taking good advice, which I've got from you a lot in comedy. Things like that. I hope they remember. I know what they will remember me for, shouting. That's mainly what they're going to remember me for, shouting and...
I was reading Robert Webb's book this week, How Not to Be a Boy, whatever it's called. And it's a very good book, very well written. Robert Webb's very talented. But there's a bit in the book where he's talking about his younger sister, and he's like 16 years older than her. So there's a big gap between them. And he talks one bit about how she was young, she was being really annoying, like a 4 or 5 year old does. And he just lost his temper with and shouted at her. And he writes in this book how ashamed of himself he felt and how he promised himself it would never happen again. And I was like, Benjo, I still talk like this to my younger sister and she's 28 years old. Like, I speak like this to I promised myself that I'd be nice to my nephew. Within 10 minutes, I'm like, will you stop?
Of course.
Okay.
Chup karo. Chup.
Stopped? Have you stopped? You stopped? I've stopped. Okay? Do it again and then we'll speak like this again. Take it. All right.
Also, you're living in a house with them, aren't you?
I was. So when I came back from Australia and went into lockdown, my sister and her 5 kids were here because they're in the middle of a house renovation.
I remember.
But they left 2 weeks later. But those first 2 weeks, they were like, in Inception when you go in the dream and it takes longer. It was like I was in Inception. Those 2 weeks were like I was blonde before. I was blonde and blue-eyed before this lockdown, and now I'm a bloody grey-haired Asian man.
Oh my God! No, but I mean, I don't even want to pretend that I understand what it is, how people raise their kids without raising their voice. I know it happens. The Danes never shout at their kids, and their kids are fine. But I just don't know how that works. In fact, I don't even have to shout now. All I say is, especially now because everyone's always around, I always say, meow, shall I come? And there's immediate silence in the house, You're
just coming in like Thor in Infinity War.
I just say, meow. And my husband's like, what is that thing you say? And they all go quiet. I'm like, never mind.
Yeah, it's not for you.
He doesn't want to know. I mean, I can't tell him the details. He'll get upset.
That's so funny.
Because he's at home all the time now.
How is that? Because I think the biggest blessing of my life is not being married with any kids during the lockdown.
Sure. I mean, I think new marriage. Well, depends on the marriage, though.
True.
Depends on the marriage. I mean, I've got 3 kids, 2 are teenagers, so I love being around them. But we're not also on each other's head. But I do. They have nowhere to go. I know exactly what's going on in their lives. And I'm a proper Desi mom. Like, I want to know.
Yeah.
Now they can't go anywhere. So and at the end of the day, they're my children. So at some point, once a week, one of them breaks down and I find out everything about their life.
Wow.
It's great. And I'm like, and I can store it all away,
Have you ever got to a point when you're like, okay, but this is too much?
Oh, I mean, I've learned to accommodate raising children in a much more permissive society than I was raised in, and also their father is Danish. So that's a whole different thing, because I wouldn't let them go out the way that they are allowed to go out if it was left to me. I wouldn't. I would just think it was too soon, you know. But I've learned to moderate that.
When I was 14, me and my cousins on Eid, so this is on Eid, where you're allowed slightly more freedoms than you would be otherwise. So on Eid, me and my cousins took a train to Preston. Now, Blackburn to Preston is a 20-minute train ride.
You were 14.
I was 14.
How old were the kids? I mean, how old were the
No, we were all 14. We were all 14, 15. We were all the same age.
Hello.
And we took a train ride from Blackburn to Preston. And we went to watch a film, we went bowling, we came straight home. Nothing happened. The bollocking we got that evening is legendary in our household. Like we just now, like even because all the family members were there, the younger kids were there. Sorry, Cindy, I think you're frozen.
I lost you.
Oh, you still there?
Yeah,
there you are.
Yeah.
So that bollocking we got was legendary. Like because all the adults in the family were there, and all of the younger kids that could snuck into that room. And honestly, they made it out like we'd killed someone.
Yeah.
It was the worst, honestly. And I remember we were looking at each other like, obviously it's them days where they were shouting, we were saying nothing apart from facts when we were asked a question.
Yeah, you can't speak, you can't look up.
You can't look. It was honestly, I remember, and even now to this day, we can just say to a cousin, remember when we were in Preston, and it's all flashback. You know, like Vietnam flashbacks. It was crazy.
You know,
crazy.
I'll tell you something. But this is the thing. Look at the things I used to get into trouble for. So, you know, we're vegetarians, right? And all that. But some of my cousins wanted to eat meat. And I had a chacha who lived in America. And I remember I was very young, and he said, you should come. So he had brought me and with my two cousins, and we'd gone to Disneyland. Like it was like I'd gone from Lucknow to Disneyland, like and my parents were in America. I think my father had some work, so I went. And on this trip, and my chacha and all ate meat. Like they went to America, they were like, no, that's it, we're like this, right? So my chachi said, you want a hot dog? And I was like, oh, you know, what is meat? Meat was like the bad thing. And I was like,
not only is it meat, it's haram.
Matlab for you, for Hindus, all meat is haram, right? So haram to haram. And there were my cousins putting mustard and ketchup, and I said, I'll have. And I thought, they're never going to tell my parents, right? So I had the hot dog. I mean, it tasted very novel, but it wasn't like after the... Anyway, get back. They had taken Polaroids. They sent photos. In one photograph, I'm standing with a hot dog in my hand. My mother's looking at photos, and she said, hot dog khaya tha? You saying the bollocking I got, the thrashing I got. And you know what she kept saying to me? This is what it felt like. Jab suwar ko maar rahe the na, aise hi lag raha tha. And I was like, I mean, it was the worst day of my life.
Did you ever get the beatings for when you got hurt?
No.
They were the best beatings. Don't do that again, otherwise you will get hurt. And you're like, well, what's happening right now?
What's happening now?
They were my favorite.
My mom used to say, because I used to always climb trees, and she would say, you're going to fall off the tree and break your leg. And then she would say, you're going to fall off the tree and break your leg, and I'm going to come and I'll break your other leg. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, what is happening? But the thing is, you never felt unsafe.
Never.
You
Never
just
in my
felt
life.
like you knew that you had done something you weren't.
On edge, but not unsafe.
Oh yeah, you were constantly tense. And I want to say, for the record, I have children, and I know that, you know, I want to say on Insta Live, I'm not in any way supporting beating your kids. I'm just informing you that it happened to me when I was little and I lived in India.
For balance.
It also happened to me here in HSBC, because my mother was with me and she smacked me, and the guy got so stressed out. But that's a different story.
No
violence against kids.
For balance, I am advocating it just for the yin and yang of the podcast.
Don't listen to that.
I remember with Sindhu once, when I was 12, 13, a lot happened in this period. When I was 12, 13 years old, I went to the shops, 30 pence, went to buy chocolate and crisp. Best time of your life, innit?
Yes.
And the road I was on, the cars were very busy and I couldn't see the other side. I snuck through the cars and ran. A car came from the other side, knocked me over. My crisp and chocolate went flying. My first concern is, oh, my chocolate crisper.
I know.
I got up, found one was under another car, and I tucked my hand under, got it, found my chocolate, picked it up, and people were coming around at this point out of the shops and stuff, going, "Beta, are you okay? Are you right? Where's your family? Blah blah blah." I ran home, and I never told my mum Sindhu because I thought I'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
Why did you let the car hit you?
देख नहीं रहे थे. You couldn't see where you were going. You're like, oh God.
Stop, look, and listen.
But it was wild. But I have never ever done that with my kids because I think also in India, at least, every generation, and I think it's the same here. Why am I saying in India? I think every generation you look back and you think, I want to avoid that. So I can be very shouty with my kids, and I'll certainly say things like, this is the worst day of my life. I can't even believe you didn't get an A, or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But then thrashing and all, just not only because it's illegal here, but because in general, I think that was crazy. And I would check in with my mom and say, when she used to come here, and I say, "Mummy, aap itna marti thi. You used to hit us so much. Why?" She said, "Because you deserve." And so you're like, okay, well, I guess that's fine.
And you're like, okay, yeah.
Okay,
fine.
and I mean, she used to tell me, she used to say, it's because you've married a Dane that you don't smack your kids. But she used to really think that it was something that had changed in me because I'd married a non-Indian. And I was like, no, I don't think I would smack them. She said, nahi, beta. And she used to say to me that gold only becomes shiny after because which is true. Gold only. So I was like, okay, that's great. Thanks a lot. I'm not doing that. But if I had touched one of my kids in her presence, she'd have killed me. Oof. There's no way. Oof. I tell you,
We have 54 seconds left.
Okay, 54 seconds. Oh, then I better tell you the legacy that I think I will be. Well, why don't you tell me what you think I will be remembered for?
So, Sindhu, thank you so much for joining us. I genuinely, Sindhu, you are my favorite people in comedy and my favorite people in general. And your legacy, you want it to be remembered as a funny person. And I think you will be. I think you'll be remembered as a very, very funny person who might have hit her kids. We don't know. There's a lot of overcompensation happening in this conversation. We don't know. The lady does protest too much. I don't know what's going on here. But Sindhu,
can I just tell you what I think I will be remembered for?
In 17 seconds.
My legs.
Oh my God. They're so... too long.
Now when you Google Sindhu Vee, it comes up Sindhu Vee legs. So I figure that's what people are going to remember me for.
Sindhu, thank you so much. Thank you to your legs.
Having me.
I love you so much. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Oh man, what a fun conversation that was with Sindhu, man. She is one of my favourites, one of my best friends in stand-up, and just one of the funniest people that I know in life. She transcends comedy in terms of how funny she is. Because a lot of comedians, they're funny people on stage, but they're not necessarily the funniest people in real life. And she is both. So more power, more life to my big sister, Sindhu Vee. If you like that, please like and subscribe. Turn on the notifications. Let me know in the comments who else you'd like me to interview. We've got some really amazing guests coming up over the next few weeks. So you want to make sure your notifications are on and you're subscribed. Go check out my stand-up special, Testify. That's doing very well. So go check that out. Leave a positive comment. As with anything in life, if you don't like it, if it's not for you, if you haven't enjoyed it, ignore it. Leave it. Go about your day. Go find something else. Go watch an episode of Rick and Morty. We don't need to know. Don't need to share negativity with the world. There's enough of that going on that we don't need it in each other's personal space. So if this isn't for you, no worries. Go find something that is for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Check out the other videos on my channel. I've been Tez Ilyas. Go follow Sindhu Vee at Sindhu Vee Comedy. I think she's in most places. More power, more life. Peace.